It's Broncos week and the Chiefs control their fate, but they have to come out and hit that pedal hard on the Ferrari to accelerate right into this week. And we're going to tell you all about it today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for making us your first listen here on Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We are your daily show for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we appreciate you being here. We are now the #1 sports podcast network in the world, and thanks to you, we appreciate you being here. You everydayers help us get through it, help us keep doing it, and we help you get more than one listen. So make another Locked On show your next listen today. We have a fun one for you. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, where I tell you all about the draft analysis that you need from the analytics and the physicality and everything there. NFL 33, where I run down the rest of the league in RGR football, where we dig in deep on these Kansas City Chiefs. Joined by my partner, Chris Clark, over at KC Chiefs Corner for all your football metrics, all your quarterback stuff, the cap analysis you need. And today, our local resident honcho, Matt Derrick, joins us, the editor-in-chief of ChiefsDigest.com. We've been doing this show for quite a long time. Chris and I for 9 years on this show. Matt for about 7, 8 of it at this point. And between us, I think we have approaching 25, 30 years of covering this team for you. This is what we do on Wednesdays. We appreciate you being here. Thank you very, very much. We're going to lay it all out for you. You got to break these Broncos, and this is the week to do it. You have to accelerate coming out of the bye, something Andy and Patrick are generally pretty good at, but you got to bring the rest of the team. Then later in the show, we're going to get to what is the real threat level of these Denver Broncos. I'm going to give you a little insight from here in the local area where they are, and then we're going to finish up about the critical changes, updates that have to happen on the offensive line to make sure that it all gets done. And Matt, holy cow, that's a lot for a team that's just coming off of a bye, right? I don't want to make like the immediacy go over the top, but I really do feel like this is not a week you can screw around. This is controlling your fate. You have to take this game. You have to come prepared. You have to be firing on absolutely all 14 cylinders or whatever it is in one of those Ferraris.
Yeah, you're 2 games behind in the loss column, both for the AFC West and for the #1 seed. So you can't let up. I mean, especially because the teams that you're chasing, the Colts and the Broncos, they both have really easy schedules too. I mean, you look at the Chiefs schedule and you say, hey, most difficult game that they have left is Sunday against the Broncos. It's same for the Broncos. I mean, this is their big game too. And it's for the following week with the Colts, same thing. I mean, these 3 teams, these next 2 weeks are huge games. And, it's very difficult to play out the math for the Chiefs to win the AFC West if they don't sweep Denver. And honestly sweep the AFC West the rest of the way. So these 4 games, if you want to win the AFC West, you want a first-round home game, and you even want to give yourself a chance at the first-round bye and catching the Colts, you got to win this game.
Well, I'm glad you said the Colts, and we're talking about that because it is a reality of, yes, you have to win this week, but you have the Colts coming up as well. So you have a chance to chase down the teams that is in front of you for both the division and for the AFC. So I do think Kansas City's in a prime position, but you're absolutely right. They have to take advantage of this. They have to come out. They have to be firing all cylinders on the offensive side, and they need to get their defensive game plan figured out as well when it comes to stopping this Broncos offense, who didn't play well last week, but you have to expect will be ready to go against this Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I mean, this is, we talk about everybody's up for the Chiefs every single week. 2 weeks ago, before the bye, the Bills were dialed up for the Chiefs. I mean, they had it cranked up. When you're the Chiefs, that's more difficult. And we've talked about that every single year. You can't have it cranked up all the way to 11 every single week. You're going to have weeks where you don't have that 110% effort. I mean, there's going to be some weeks you're only 100%. There's going to be some weeks that you're only 90, 80. There might be some 70. Try not to have too many of those, but it's the reality. And you look back at that Bills game, and I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, the Bills outplayed the Chiefs, but I think it started absolutely with effort, and it started with what you put into it. The Chiefs 5-4, it's not the end of the world. They were right now. We're talking about them being 2 games back in the loss column. This same point in 2019, yes, they were atop the AFC West, but they were 3 games behind the Patriots in the loss column. They caught the Patriots and were the number 1 seed on the way to the Super Bowl that year. So as far as the AFC goes, conference goes, they're better shape than they were in 2019. Now, they just have to climb over a few more teams, and they got to climb past the Broncos, but it's all right in front of them. I mean, if the Chiefs win out, they don't need a whole lot of help. They'd need a little bit of help with somebody beating the Colts, but they have enough of this in their own control that if they're going to go 8-0, they're catching Denver. It's just a matter of whether they can get all the way back to catch Indianapolis. But I think they can, but it starts now, right? And like you said, they have to hit the accelerator because there has to be a sense of urgency the rest of the way.
Really quick, was that 2019 year, the year that the Patriots lost to the Dolphins in the final week?
Yeah.
I was at Arrowhead that game and was actually watching the Dolphins game on somebody's laptop or phone while watching the game at Arrowhead. That was a lot of fun. And got to hear, was it Gus Johnson that called both games at the same time?
Kevin Harlan was calling both
Kevin
games.
Harlan, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, that was great. Sorry.
Sorry, Kev. I'll tell you, this is always a tough one because I feel like this year might be a little bit different, but most bye weeks, things need downtime. To use the NASCAR or whatever analogy, you needed the new tires. You had to swap them out. You had to refuel literally and figuratively for this team. And you can't afford to come out and lose a couple of spots. You can't get back onto the track and be in 10th. You got to stay right behind that pace car, just like you would if the flag was out. And so I think that's really the big thing. I think it's more mental than it is physical right now, Matt. What do you see?
Yeah, I think that it is. And I know people are probably tired of hearing me say this, and it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I'm not. And the players aren't making these excuses, but I'm telling you still that I feel like some of this team's issues still go back to week 1 and that trip to Brazil. The Chargers, they're probably showing it a little bit too. I mean, I know they've got a better record than the Chiefs, and maybe not, although once again, I think they've had an easier schedule than the Chiefs. I mean, they've had a terrible schedule. The Chiefs, I mean, their schedule as far as teams at the top of the AFC, it's one of the most difficult schedules anybody's had. Now, it gets easier, but you also go into the fact that they were the road team in that game, and that was a bigger challenge. And I tell you, and also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Chargers train at their own facility. So, there wasn't hey, Chiefs were breaking camp in St. Joe, coming to Kansas City for a little bit, then packing they weren't packing for Brazil when they were, and I'm talking about the equipment guys, support staff. Nobody was being able to work ahead, getting ready for Brazil because they were in St. Joe. So they had this quick turnaround, and I know, I mean, the players will say, hey, fatigue wise, they're over it. It's over and done with. But talking to people behind the scenes, they'll tell you that they've been playing catch up since week 1 across the board. And I believe there's no way that doesn't extend to the team. It extends to sometimes the results on the field. So, I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, I think you'd say, don't send the Chiefs overseas for a while. Give them a break. No, but here's the bigger thing is that I still think that it's a bigger difference taking that trip to Brazil. And I'm not talking about time difference because some people say, hey, well, it's not as big as going to Europe. Travel wise, it's just as bad as going to Europe. And I get nervous when talking about the Chiefs maybe and going to Australia next year to play the Rams, if that rumor comes true, because doing it with an entire bye week behind you isn't a big deal. But doing it when there's no bye week and you're playing a Friday to Sunday, that's what got this organization. And I still say that they've been playing catch up ever since, which has made this bye week bigger than I think any bye week that they've had in a long, long time.
Well, let's hope that they show up and they've taken full advantage of it because the real Chiefs team needs to show up this week to assess what the real threat is in Denver. And yes, it is very, very real, and that's next. This show's sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and the nights come earlier, you can start to feel a little heavier, especially when life is already packed with work and family and everything else. This season, it's so important to reach out and check in with friends, family, and even yourself. Just like checking on a teammate or reconnecting with someone you haven't seen in a long time, it can lift your spirits. Reaching out for therapy can do the same thing and make a difference. BetterHelp makes the first step easier by connecting you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. Therapy isn't just for when things are falling apart. It's about staying balanced. It's about staying on a path forward and growing through the tough seasons. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or you're reaching out to a therapist for yourself, BetterHelp makes it simple to take that very first step. Listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn, because taking the next step forward for support might just leave you wondering, why didn't I do this sooner? All's fun in war and love, or however that saying goes, Matt. And there's no love lost between these teams for the first time in quite a while. I think until we saw the write-off in the sunset Peyton Manning, this Denver Broncos team is competitive with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then obviously their record is actually better than them right now. But there's chinks in the armor. There's things here. They lost a middle linebacker this week to a terrible diagnosis, but he's going to miss this game. Pat Surtain is out for them. Their offense has not been what you would call a juggernaut. But I keep contending, and you're going to have to tell me what you see. This is still a team that you have to take as an actual real threat to your season, because if you don't, they just might bite you.
Oh, 100%. Because if no other reason, I mean, you talk about maybe inconsistencies and some of the issues that the Broncos have on offense. It's not an offensive first team. It's a defensive first team. And they're really good at defense. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I mean, they're good against the run. They're good against the pass. It's not like they're one-sided one way or the other. They're good on third downs. They're the best team in the NFL in run zone touchdown percentage. This team does a lot of things really, really good offensively, which is what makes the Chiefs defense versus the Broncos offense even more important, because you've got to get Denver in trouble. You got to put pressure on that offense. If you don't, it's going to be a long day, because, if Denver gets in, that offense gets in a rhythm and doesn't turn the football over and is productive, then, they can lean on that defense. And, if the Broncos get a lead, their defense knows how to play with it.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs come out in this game, because you've had weeks where they've come out and they've looked phenomenal in their first 15. And then you've had weeks like they did against Buffalo, where they came out and their offense was just very, very stagnant and slow. They have to come out, and they have to come out strong. And I agree with you, man. I think when you look at how this Broncos team is set up, if Kansas City can find a way to even get a touchdown lead, before halftime, and then maybe, be in a situation where they get the ball right after halftime, then you're in a situation where you put them maybe possibly 2 scores down, and it will help your defense, and it will put more pressure on their offense. I'm not saying that Denver can't do it. They've shown that they can. They did it against the Giants a couple weeks ago, where they scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. But that's not going to happen to Kansas City's defense. I have full faith that Kansas City's defense wouldn't allow something like that, and the Chiefs' offense wouldn't allow no points to be scored in the fourth quarter. So I do think that this is a huge game for Kansas City. They need to be ready for it, and they have to be treating every game going forward like they're playing in the playoffs, and it's a one-and-done scenario. Because the reality is that if you keep losing games, you're going to have a chance at not even making the playoffs, let alone having a chance at losing the AFC West.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, the Chiefs have a bit of their, even though I hate phrasing, a little bit of their own destiny in their control, because if they win out, they win the AFC West. That's just the bottom line. If they stumble at any point, and the bigger the stumble, the bigger the opponent. So, the Chiefs might be able to weather a loss. They can weather a loss to the Colts a lot better than they can to the Broncos when it comes to just winning the West. But when it comes to these divisional games, they've got to win every single one of them. And let's face it, I mean, how do you beat the Broncos? You do it by getting pressure on Bo Nix. You force it to turn the football over. You make sure that he's not comfortable and that he doesn't ever get into a rhythm. When he gets into a rhythm, like you mentioned, against the Giants, I mean, they can put up some points on the board. Sean Payton knows what he's doing. But what you can't do is you cannot let Bo Nix get comfortable. He's a game manager, and what you got to do to him is make him uncomfortable. And if you do, he's going to make mistakes. And that's been the problem for the Chiefs defense, is that they haven't been as effective as they have been in the past of making quarterbacks uncomfortable. They've been getting the job done as far as keeping the scores down, and they've been let's face it, I mean, they've been feasting on bad teams. But what we need to see this Chiefs defense, and especially the front four, is win a matchup against a playoff team and get after their quarterback. That's what they got to do this week. And if they don't do it, they're going to be in trouble.
And I can't say they have to be a DEFCON 1 or whatever the most urgent one is. I can't remember. Maybe I just did that scale wrong. That's all right. But when you look at what the Chiefs have had to face, the Giants front, the Eagles front early, even the Commanders here, it is in no stretch in my mind to say that this Broncos defensive front is the most formidable they've seen to this point this season, with 3 guys up over 38 pressures on the season in Allen, Cooper, and Benito. This is the big challenge, is it not?
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, there's not a doubt. This might be, I mean, statistically, it is the best defense that the Chiefs have faced this year, especially when it comes into situational defense. Like I mentioned, how good this team is on third down and how good that they are keeping teams out of the end zone when they do get into the red zone. This team has succeeded at a lot of the stuff that the Chiefs offensively are good at. I mean, this Chiefs offense is still looks like finding its rhythm and its feet a little bit. We thought after maybe that 3-game stretch, and especially once Rashee Rice got back, that maybe this offense had found its equilibrium and was on a run. Against Buffalo showed that that's not completely the case, but that's what, and we talked about in the first segment too. A big part of this is this offense. This is an opportunity to send a message, and it's an opportunity for this team to plant its flag. I mean, this is, for all of those reasons, I think it's a big game, because if the Chiefs win this game, and if they can win it convincingly, we're talking a little bit like they talked about with Buffalo. If they had won that game, they would have sent a message around the league that the Chiefs are not to be trifled with, that they are serious contenders. They're back in that same spot. I mean, if they can knock off Denver and knock them off convincingly, then teams are going to be worried about the Chiefs again. They're going to get scared about the Chiefs again. Right now, I mean, teams look at them at 5-4, and they may see Patrick Mahomes, but they don't see, back-to-back champs or anything like that right now.
Well, and it's a great point that you make. When you're sitting here looking at how this is going to play out, you have a situation where not only are you playing your divisional rival in a game that you need just to have a chance to win the division, but if you send the message of beating the Broncos this week, what kind of message does that send for the next game that you have, which is going to be the Colts, who's the other team that's up in the number 1 for the AFC right now? I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at, is you have a situation over the next couple of weeks where you can really make statements by getting 2 huge wins. If you come out and you win convincingly at Denver, and then you win against the Colts, that sends a shockwave through the entire AFC, and it puts Kansas City in a position where they still may not be the number 1 seed because of different teams win, loss, whatever, but you're going to at least be in a position where you feel like you can get back to the number 1 seed very easily if you win these next 2 games, because you're giving losses to the teams, a couple of the teams ahead of you.
Yeah, and that's, once again, it comes back to a really difficult, question here. It comes back to the quarterbacks and who is ready for prime time. I mean, these next 2 weeks are an opportunity, because if Bo Nix can get a win against the Chiefs, and or Daniel Jones can get a win against the Chiefs, I mean, that's going to do a tremendous amount both for those quarterbacks, I think confidence, for their team's confidence in them, all of those things. But if you're the Chiefs, you need to knock both those guys down a peg. And once again, I mean, it comes back to, I was asked earlier today, who am I taking in the AFC to win the conference? I mean, I'll be honest, I get that the top teams right now have Bo Nix and Daniel Jones and Drake May as their quarterbacks, but I'm not betting on any one of those guys to win the AFC and to win the conference, because you have to think that it's more likely going to be Mahomes. It's going to be Josh Allen. It could still be Lamar Jackson, and maybe it's going to be Joe Burrow. I don't know, but I would bet on that field more than I would these young guys. And part of that is that the Chiefs have to be one of these teams that beats these guys. Because, I mean, Bo Nix, I'll say this: I'm not a big fan of Bo Nix, and if this is the real Daniel Jones, then Brian Daboll was rightly fired in New York. but I think those guys are closer to Alex Smith, and I love Alex Smith, but Alex Smith was a game manager, and he's a guy that is not necessarily going to be the guy that takes your team to a victory. They're not the guy that's going to win you games. But if you're going to beat those guys, you got to beat the quarterback.
I can't resist, Matt. You didn't say Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand.
Easy now.
Sorry.
You got to take the AFC West to do that. It is Patrick Mahomes and the Paper Tigers, the rest of this field, because I don't think they're there yet. But you still got to win the games. And to do that, you got to have the protection. This O-line has changes, and that's next. This show is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today, and you'll get the parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, electrical items, and the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts for that last-minute project, if you're trying to make a delivery date, or you're trying to be a game changer on game day, make sure that you have the parts that you need by going with them. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHCOLLEGE5 for 5% off of your order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people and real service. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game and you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets that happen during the game. Everything for everyone who will score from the next point to the fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine them all into a same game parlay, take an even bigger shot at a payout. Keeps everything exciting. It keeps it up to the minute, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go ahead to FanDuel.com and sign up over at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Folks, check out Chiefs Digest and ChiefsDigest.com to find Matt's content. Listen to 41 is the mic. Check out KC Chiefs Corner and NFL 33 and RGR Football, and maybe even look at Rogue Analytics if you're looking at draft stuff, because we got it all for you, and it all goes into what helps a team every year. And this is a team, Matt, as we get older and older through this regime that is Andy Reid, it is more about the draft picks. And this year's draft picks, maybe more so than any others, because you saw a couple of offensive linemen come in Creed's class, and I'll call it Trey's class too. Then you get Kingsley, who's now rounding into shape at left guard in his second year. You put on top of that Josh Simmons, who came back as they went to the bye, hopefully with some time to make up some ground. That's a significant change for the better if he's able to play. He was gone for quite a bit, Matt. But as you take a look and kind of read the lay of the land here, what is your expectation for what this unit might look like tomorrow when they start practicing?
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. I mean, Andy Reid on Monday wasn't very specific about whether or not that Josh Simmons was going to be stepping into back into the starting role. I mean, he pretty much downplayed that as much as he possibly could. I'll be interested to see if on Wednesday he opens it up a bit more to just concede one way or the other. I would imagine that we'll probably play it through the week, and he's at the very least going to want Denver to prepare for both of those guys and be prepared to see either one of him or Jalen Moore at left tackle. But, it's the other thing about this Chiefs offensive line this week is just that they did not finish the game against Buffalo healthy. Kingsley came out for a snap. He might be the second most healthy guy on the offensive line. Creed Humphrey was the only guy to finish the game without any issues. Trey Smith's been dealing with the back spasms. Jawan Taylor, tweaked the ankle again. We still haven't heard specifically whether it was the same ankle or a different ankle than he was already having some issues with, and he's got a permanent knee problem. So now Andy Reid did say that he thinks that Jawan's going to be okay for practice this week. Weather looks good, so it doesn't seem like they're going to be working indoors, which would limit them a little bit, as sometimes with guys, especially that have knee issues. So we should get a look at the whole field, and if Jalen Moore's back from his illness that slowed him down against Buffalo, this should be at least a healthier and better prepared offensive line. But there's no doubt they got beat against Buffalo. And Denver, as you mentioned, has a strong pass rush, a strong front four. They can get after you. going to be dependent on this group, whether it's Josh Simmons at left tackle or Jalen Moore. And I think it more than likely will be Josh Simmons. It's going to be a big challenge this week.
I got to ask, but a question to you, Matt. But I have to say really quick, thinking about Ryan's lead into this and thinking about how this has been a offensive line that has largely been drafted by Brett Veach in the last couple of years, and you're single position away from drafting a right tackle in 2026 and having the entire offensive line being high draft picks and maybe a group that can grow together, which is exciting for me. I like how that's built. I know we're talking about offensive line, but I do think it plays into how this game is going to go and how this offensive line is going to play. Are you expecting Pacheco to be available? Because if the weather is bad in Denver and being able to run the ball using your offensive line to their strengths of getting after a defensive line, do you think that's going to be something that is going to be possible?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty notable that was the one guy that Andy Reid on Monday was not as sure about. And now, granted, some of that is that the players had the bye week off until Tuesday to get into the building. So when we talked to Andy Reid on Monday, once again, Pacheco hadn't come in yet to necessarily get with the medical staff and training staff. He had a couple of days off, so they'll see where he's at. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's less than 100% if the Chiefs did shut him down for another week. One, just to get him back to as close to 100% as healthy as you can. But also, two, I'm just not sure that an Isaiah Pacheco less than 100% has the juice that he once had. I mean, again, that he just hasn't been the same, running back, especially as far as I think explosion and stamina as before the ankle injury, before the fracture. So I would think there's a pretty good chance that he's not available this week, or at least he has a smaller role. If he's not available, I'll be baffled if it's not Elijah Mitchell instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know Andy Reid said it was because they were more comfortable with Clyde. He knows the protections. And I mean, at least Andy kind of addressed the subject and said, that, hey, if Elijah couldn't do those things, he wouldn't be on the team. If he knows how to do those things, then why isn't he doing them? It's time. I mean, it's this. If Isaiah doesn't play this week, there's no excuses for not seeing what Elijah Mitchell's got.
Lieutenant Dan, new legs. Let's get new legs in there. That's what I'm ready for. And that will help the offensive line as well. This is a matchup that has to come back to it, and they have to put everything into it. We are going to get some inside information tomorrow from our guy in Denver as well to see how they might be planning to attack this offensive line group. We'll talk more as we get updates on their Dobbins, our Pacheco, a little bit back and forth, and maybe there'll even be more run call. We'll have it all for you tomorrow, and then the show preview on Friday. Matt, thank you for everything. As you set us straight and keep me from getting too tinfoil hat here today. Thanks for the info.
Thanks for getting me back into the bye week. Let's roll. It's time to go.
Hey, yeah, firing on all cylinders. Here we go, folks. Start your engines because we're going to be here all week for it. We appreciate you being with us and making us your first listen. Check out on the Locked On show next, and we will have more for you tomorrow. Have a good one. We'll talk to you then.